Now, once we have seen these windows, let us move on to the mouse actions. As you can see, we had specified in our system requirements session that you require a mouse which will have 2 buttons and a scroll. So, there are specific inputs which can be given by the mouse, and in this particular part we will explain how different inputs will result into different on-screen responses. This is a mouse which has the left mouse button, which we all know, the right mouse button which we typically click for looking for some options, and a scroll which is used mostly for zooming in or zooming out at times, but more importantly for browsing a longer page you use this mostly on your websites. Particular software what we are talking, Blender, uses right mouse button to select the object. This is pretty unusual because in most of the softwares you use this button to select the object, but there is a specific reason why Blender creators have chosen the right mouse button. We will go into detail later on probably, but to tell you that if you have to select any object, click on this button and that will select the object. The scene which we are into, if we want to see a closer look at that, we call it zoom in. For that we have to push this scroll button downwards like this. If you push it downwards, if you scroll in, then you will get a zoom in effect in the 3D window. At the same time, if you scroll out, if you take the wheel backwards towards yourself, then this is called scroll out, in which case we will get a zoom out effect in the 3D window. In addition to that, there is a option to orbit in the 3D view. So, what is orbit? Orbit is basically you can see the particular model from multiple angles at the same time and you can actually move the mouse. So, for that you hold this button, you click it, hold it and then drag it around. So, if you drag it like this, then you will see that the model in between, in the center of the screen, is seen from different angles at that time. So, this is called holding the scroll button and moving the mouse, and the effect on the screen is called orbit. So, I can orbit around the object. Okay. There is one more interesting thing to happen, and that is when we actually use a keyboard along with this mouse. So, if I press shift on the keyboard and then the scroll button and move the mouse, then we can pan in the 3D window. So, I press shift with my left hand and then I press the scroll button, and now I am actually moving this so that you can see that I can pan around. What you did for orbiting, just add shift to it and you will be able to pan the scene. Panning is basically drawing a parallel line to the object and moving in the horizontal direction. So, lastly we talk about the left mouse button. Left mouse button, if you click somewhere on the 3D viewport, it will replace or move the 3D cursor, and that is what the point is, that what is this 3D cursor. Like I said earlier, in 2D softwares you have the parameters of a cursor explained in terms of x and y axis, where is the location of the cursor, but in 3D it is also equipped with the z axis. Therefore, the location is explained in terms of x, y and z axis. So, whenever you click, it is not necessarily sure that you are clicking where you are able to see. You do not know the z depth in respect to where you are clicking. Therefore, be very careful about clicking this. that brings to the first keyboard shortcut in the sessions, which is called Shift C, because invariably whenever people start working with the software, they click with their left mouse somewhere on the screen, and that will move your 3D cursor to a random position. And why is it important to not do that? It is because whenever you add any object, just to start some new animation or new modeling, adding of the object will happen at the point where the 3D cursor is. So it is important that this particular cursor stays in the center of the scene all the time. If it has been clicked by mistake at some other location, be sure that you use this shortcut Shift plus C in order to bring it in the center. Once it is in the center, then whatever addition of objects you do, it will always happen in the center. That will help you to locate them. Most of the time we have seen people that they zoom out a lot and then they click with their left mouse somewhere, and the 3D cursor is moved. Now when we tell them that okay, add a cube, they do the adding of the cube shortcuts, but they realize that they cannot see the cube because the cube has been added at the point where the 3D cursor was located. To avoid such problems, I suggest use Shift C as the first shortcut and place it in the center of the scene. That will help you a lot. Lastly, some keyboard shortcuts which are very commonly used. The most common is for selecting or deselecting objects. Now here selecting all objects is done by the key A on keyboard. If you press A, it will select all the objects which are present, and toggling this, like repeating the pressing action, will toggle the action and it will deselect all the objects. So this is a toggle key, A for selecting as well as for deselecting if you press it again. Shift C, like I said earlier, will get the cursor back to the center. X or delete will help you in deleting the object. And do not worry, it will always give you a message, are you sure you want to delete the object, and that time you have to say yes. So only after that it will delete the object, but the keyboard shortcut is X or the button delete near the numpad. Control Z is a universal shortcut, I do not have to explain, it is just to undo the action. Just remember Control Z, like any other software in the world we know right now, is undo even in Blender. So we have covered couple of shortcuts in this session, and we have also seen couple of mouse input actions in this session. The next session will be where we will set some of the preferences which are required to interact with Blender, and also know about the numpad, which is also equally important component when we talk about Blender. So see you in the next session.